Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. This is Augie of the Blago Blabber podcast. I'd like to welcome everyone to another segment, episode, edition, whatever you want to call it. So I've been off the airways for a while now. I think the last piece I did was the James Harden trade to the Brooklyn Nets, and they've been playing pretty well, I guess you can say. So that's kind of the last piece that I've done. I want to start something new today. It's actually something that I actually don't even know if I podcasted before, but I think I dabbled in it a little bit. Basically, what I did before was I would do like this week in sports segment kind of thing, where I discuss like the major events that happen in sports during that week. And I think I'm going to bring that back. I'm going to actually do my first episode tonight. So it is tonight, 10:30, Friday night, here in beautiful Toronto, approximately minus 13 outside. No, I'm kidding. It actually is something like that, but that's besides the point. So I think it's just a good segment because it just adds another episode. It's at least one episode a week, you can say, if you do it once a week. So I haven't figured out yet how I'm going to do this or what day I'm going to do this. It would kind of make most sense to do it on a Sunday, but Sundays are kind of busy and stuff like that. Maybe doing it on a Monday. I just figured I'd do it on a Friday now. The reason why I decided just to test it out on Friday is because there's no football this week anyways. So the Super Bowl's in not this week, but the week after. So I kind of just decided to test it out, and there has been, stuff to talk about in the sports world. So that's why I figured I'll do it now. But I mean, it's kind of up in the air. You guys can let me know when is the best day to do it. I think maybe even Monday might be the best day to do it because it's the start of a new week. So then you're talking about, I guess then it wouldn't be this week in sports, would it? So maybe I will do it on Friday, and then whatever happens after Friday, we can kind of fit into the following. Anyways. So since I mentioned football, I think it only makes sense that I start from there with Chiefs, Bills, and Packers and Bucks. So those who don't know, which is probably many of you, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. So it's been a long time coming for us. A million different quarterbacks the last, 15, 20 years. I actually thought, so this is a little bit of a throwback, but I actually thought E.J. Manuel was like the guy that was going to step in for us and and be that guy, but obviously he wasn't. So, Josh Allen had a heck of a season. The team had a heck of a season. And I'm usually not confident, and my friends could tell you this, I'm usually not confident in my teams, like when it comes to the playoffs. Like I'm always very pessimistic. I'm never optimistic, but these playoffs, actually my friend is a Baltimore Ravens fan, and, I was talking smack to him, which I never do. Like I said, I'm very pessimistic, so I usually don't talk smack to anyone, because it usually comes back and bites you in the ass. But I did, and it paid off, and, it was a great win for us because Baltimore is a great team. Me personally, I'm not sold on Lamar Jackson. Like, the guy can run it, but he can't sling it. So we'll see what happens this offseason for them, and, they need to get some wide receivers to see where he is at this point. Because if he can't do it with good wide receivers, then, it's great that he can run it, but we saw what happened to him in the game against Buffalo, concussion, and that was it. But anyways, even against the Chiefs, I felt really good. I thought Buffalo had a real chance. No, we didn't. It was basically, if you take Mahomes out of the equation, it was basically two guys. It was Hill and Kelsey. Killed us. And I'm just taking Mahomes out of the equation just for the sake of just showing you guys that it was just two guys. Stop the run game. Mahomes did what he had to do. Those guys balled out. Their defense is outstanding. Hill is just like, you have to catch Hill. When he catches the ball, you have to tackle him within the next 1.5 to 2 seconds. Otherwise, he's gone. Like, he is gone. You're not going to catch him. And that's exactly what he showed, and he's an outstanding receiver. And good for the Chiefs. Mahomes is building himself quite a resume already in his, third full season. Outstanding quarterback. And if he wins the Super Bowl next week, man, like he's got a long way to go to catch Brady, but man, what a start. Imagine 3 full seasons and you have 2 Super Bowls. You're well on your way. And I was like the crowd that said that, they kind of struggled throughout the season, like a lot of games they kind of won by fluke or they took their, foot off the gas pedal. That's what I agreed with. And that's what I thought. So I thought when they played the Bills, I'm like, it's going to come to a screeching halt for them because they can't keep doing this. Lo and behold, they down 9-0 and they did it again. So you literally can't count them out. They could start every possession off on their own 10-yard line and they'll end up scoring. I mean, field goals for them is like they didn't get any points at all. So outstanding team going forward. Buffalo, let's see what we do in the offseason. The draft is fast approaching. There's rumors that obviously Josh Allen will sign a new contract extension. The only thing I love him as a quarterback because he can, kind of move out there as well. But when he gets into pressure situations, he does stuff it's very stupid to say the least. Like I remember against Dallas, he did some crazy stuff too, where he was, running and the ball was like way out of, like away from his body. And I think it fumbled, but luckily went out of bounds. And then did some stuff against Houston last season in the playoffs, I believe. And he's just got to fix those things because he's fixed everything else while he's been in the NFL. So, everyone questioned him if he could be a guy who could even complete 60% of his passes. And this year he was close to 70. So, stuff like that. He's improved every single season in the NFL, and that's very important going forward. And to be fair, he's been surrounded by awesome receiving core. I think probably a lot of people don't talk about it, but it's one of the best ones in the NFL. Like when you got Cole Beasley, you got Diggs, you got Gabriel Davis, you got Brown. Like you got Croft, there's a lot of guys here, man. Singletary out of the backfield. I thought Singletary would have a much better season than he did, but Zach, I forget his name now. But the other running back, Zach Moss, sorry. It's funny that I forgot his name. I'm not a big college football guy, and that Zach Moss is like one of the few college players that I remember, apart from the quarterback. So those are like the sexy positions. But Zach Moss is actually a guy that when we got him, I was like, wow, we got Zach Moss. That's really cool. I actually know who he is. But hopefully he comes back fully healthy. And like I said, I expected better things from Singletary. The defense wasn't that great in the first 6-7 games, but they picked it up towards the tail end of the season. And then, the Chiefs just beat us, and that's that. So we look forward to the offseason. Got to draft well. We got some free agents. We got some holes we need to plug and make a run for it again next season. And the Packers and the Bucks. I actually thought that the Bucks would get blown out here. So, I mean, it's not shocking that the Bucks won, but I really thought that the Packers, with the season that Aaron Rodgers had, I thought that they would do much better. I thought Adams could have been a bit better than what he was. He had a great season, but I think he only had something like 60 yards or something like that. For your number one guy, it's got to be a little bit more than that. And actually, Diggs had like 70, and a lot of that was, I think he had like 30-40 yards in the final like 3-4 minutes when the game was already over. And the running game just wasn't there for the Packers, and Bucks did a great job of mixing it up. Running a little bit, even though they didn't really have it going either, but they still managed to get the win, and they mixed it up, and Brady threw some interceptions, which is a little bit alarming. I think not enough people are talking about the interceptions that he threw and the turnovers and stuff like that, because it's been happening a lot. And to be fair, it's been happening throughout his whole career. And if you look at all the guys who are the best quarterbacks ever, a lot of them thrown a lot of interceptions because, I mean, when you throw the deep ball a lot and you throw a lot in general, you're gonna have interceptions. Like Brett Favre, I think, has the most interceptions ever thrown, or he's in the top 3 or something like that. And he's obviously one of the better quarterbacks ever. So, yeah, you're gonna get that, but it's something that I would focus on, and I think KC for sure. Having the guys that do on the coaching staff, they're definitely, preparing their team well for the Bucs, and I think it's going to be an interesting Super Bowl. If I had to pick, I would take the Chiefs. Hopefully, I don't jinx that because I'm not a Brady guy. I don't like Brady. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people are talking about what the Packers did in the final minutes there kicking the field goal. I honestly don't understand that either. The crazy part is, I think if it was a worse team, like if it was a team with even a backup quarterback in the playoffs, heck, they would have gone for it. You have Aaron Rodgers. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Maybe the second best apart from Mahomes, behind Mahomes. And you're going to kick a field goal? You can't. And the thing is, like on defense, you have to get stops. Like you have to keep Tampa from getting a first down. That's a tall order, man. With the offensive weapons that they have, you gotta go for that there. You can't just assume that you're gonna stop the other team from scoring. And that's the thing that, like, a lot of coaches play it conservative, but I don't like that. Like, I know if it was McDermott there, I think McDermott would have gone for it. He's shown he loves risks. He definitely would have gone with it. And Josh Allen, obviously he can use his feet as well. And, there was talks also that Aaron Rodgers could have ran it in on that one play, which I think as well he could have. But yeah, they definitely should have gone for it. You have one of the best quarterbacks. And then obviously, the press conference wherein Rodgers is kind of saying he doesn't know and maybe he won't be back and all this. If there's one team that I want him to go to, it's the 49ers, because I know he grew up cheering for them and they kind of need a quarterback because they don't, like Jimmy G wins when he plays, but he just, last playoffs we saw that he didn't really do much. They just ran the ball. So if they could get Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks, and he can at least give you 2-3 seasons, 2-3-4, whatever it is, with those receivers there and their run game, they could be pretty damn good. And their defense is really good. And we can't forget that like 70% of the defensive players were out because of injuries and guys who opted out and stuff like that. So they're going to be back again next year for sure, if they can get a quarterback. If they have Jimmy G, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting scenario to see how that plays out. But like, I remember as soon as it happened, like the next day, a lot of the NFL guys were kind of tweeting out like, possible suitors for Aaron Rodgers, and obviously 49ers were there, and like the Raiders, Patriots, teams like that. It's basically any team that doesn't have a quarterback right now would be interested in him. So yeah, that's another story. So I'm going to transition a little bit into, I'm going to get to football again later on with Deshaun Watson. Frankie Lampard getting fired. This was an interesting decision. I think this all went sour for Chelsea, and everyone usually says it started going south for them once they lost Arsenal. It actually went south for them and I was looking up the stats. It was December 12th. So they've had 8 EPL matches since December 12th. Not counting just the one that they played where they drew yesterday. I can't remember who it was. 8 EPL matches. They have 5 losses. I think 2 draws and a win. So that Arsenal match, I think if they had won that, they could have gone top of the table. They're somewhere like 8th or 9th now. And Roman Abramovich isn't shy about firing his coaches, and you can look that up. Like, no one stays longer than 16 to 18 months. Like 2 years, when someone stays 2 years, it's like, wow. I think Mourinho is like the only one who's done that. If you remember Roberto Di Matteo, and I'm always going to remember this. I'm not usually someone who's good with remembering who coached where for how long and everything that he won, but he won like the Champions League, finished like 3rd, and he got fired. And to be fair, he never really got a fair shake anywhere else, so maybe it was the right decision. But he got canned after winning Champions League. It's like one of the most lucrative trophies you could win in football, other than the World Cup probably. So the way they do stuff is very weird. I think Abramovich is a very in the moment type of guy. So if you lose 3 or 4, like, God forbid, you're going to get sacked. He just doesn't have the patience, I guess, for managers. And look, everyone's saying that, yeah, they spend 280 million this past transfer window. So when I was looking up the numbers, I remember Havertz and Timo Werner. And I totally forgot that they had purchased Ben Chilwell, who's actually been pretty good. But Timo Werner and Havertz have struggled, to say the least, this season. I thought Tuchel was a good signing just because 2 of them are familiar. I get familiarity with the language. I don't know if Tuchel coached them anywhere. Havertz played for Leverkusen, and yeah, I guess not. So I think at least they're familiar with the coach, and someone's that sometimes that's all guys need to kind of have a manager that's, speaks the same language, and they probably know each other and stuff like that. And Pulisic is on the team, and Pulisic was coached by Tuchel at Dortmund, Borussia Dortmund. So hopefully he gets going, and he hasn't caught a lot of flack. Like a lot of people talk about Havertz and Werner. Pulisic hasn't been that great either, to tell you the truth. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them going forward. I don't know if him getting sacked was justified, but if you're gonna look at it like that, then Arteta probably should have been sacked as well, because Arsenal was 15th at one point and looking really bad, and then they beat, ironically, Chelsea, and it's been downhill for Chelsea since then, and then Arsenal has been climbing the table since. So I think a lot of stuff goes into like sacking a manager. I was actually thinking about this the other day. I think a lot of it depends on who's on the market. So if Chelsea doesn't believe that the right man is on the market, who knows? Maybe Lampard would have got fired even earlier. And there was rumors that he had dust-ups with like the upper management and stuff like that, and they haven't spoken. And the players have come out and said they haven't talked to Frank Lampard. Like players that play on the team haven't talked to Lampard in like 2-3 months. So what kind of tactics, like how are you doing this? And he wasn't exactly the best manager at Derby County either. So, I mean, I guess he got it because he's a legend and stuff like that. So I kind of put myself in Arsenal shoes. Like if Arteta was to get sacked, if they brought in Thierry Henry, what would I think? I think it would have been an awful decision. Like Thierry Henry's only coached in the MLS, the Montreal Impact. Like I wouldn't like that too much. And that's no disrespect to the MLS. And he's only been there for, I think he's less than a year, maybe a year and a half, something like that. That can't be a year and a half, probably like a year. So it's too big of a chance to take, and he's like a club legend. And if he does poorly, everyone's going to jump on him and, say all kinds of things. Although I don't think Chelsea fans are doing that with Lampard. I think they're just saying, see, we told you he wasn't going to work out. So that's the way I look at it. And I think that's maybe why Arteta didn't get fired, because Edu and these guys probably didn't see anyone on the open market that they can say, hey, let's get him. Like Pochettino wouldn't come here. He's coached Tottenham, and he's repeatedly said, like he coached Espanyol as well, and he said that there's no way he would coach Barcelona out of respect for Espanyol because they're rivals, city rivals. And I respect that more than anything. Like if he said Arsenal is scum of the earth, I'd be like, thank you, Pochettino. At least you're loyal to the club that you used to coach. And he's a great coach. I think he's a great coach. But I'm starting, and like Allegri's been out of a job for like 2 years now. So I don't know like what he's waiting for. And like there was a Chelsea job that was open, and then there was PSG job that was open, and there probably would have been an Arsenal job that would have been open for him if he wanted to. But I assume that he wouldn't have wanted to take it. That's why Arteta didn't get fired. I'm just giving scenarios here, but like it makes you wonder if like is he even going to get back into coaching? Like Allegri's been out of a job for a long time. He must be very picky. And then there was rumors about like AC Milan and Inter Milan when Conte, like when they were going to fire Conte and stuff like that. So it's an interesting little it's very interesting what's going on with him. Tuchel, I don't know if he's going to be successful. I never really rated him highly as a manager. And sure, he had great success with PSG, but like who hasn't? Like they run the league by 20-25 points. It's done by February every year. Apart from this year, it's actually really close, and I hope it stays close for the entire year because it makes football a lot more interesting. And honestly, they've had a lot of injuries too with it. Mbappe and Neymar and stuff like that. So I hope it stays close for the sake of football and for the neutral fan. But yeah, it's an interesting situation, and people saying what I was getting to with Chelsea, people saying like, they spent 280 million, but that's because it's 2 windows. It's still 282 million that have gone to waste so far. Like you bought in a goalkeeper, Kepa, for 70-80 million, and now he's your backup goalkeeper. And now you can't sell him for more than like 20-25, so you're not even making half the money back. So it's these business decisions that have cost him, and this has nothing to do with Frank Lampard. And all of a sudden Declan Rice isn't in their plans either because that was Lampard's guy. So like I said, Ben Chilwell has at least been pretty good for them. I thought Reece James was really good this season up until that Arsenal match. I don't know how he's done since because I haven't really watched much Chelsea, but I know he was really good. Like he'll pop off the screen. He knows that he can defend. He does some good things going forward as well. And I really like the Thiago Silva signing as well. He's like a veteran player who can control the back line, and he's won lots of trophies in his career. So I really like that. I actually wanted him in Arsenal. So that was a really good signing. But anyway, we got David Luiz, so whatever. And Mendy looks like a good goalkeeper, although, to be fair, entire team struggled. So we'll see what that is going forward. But I think Timo Werner is too good of a player to keep struggling. Like, the guy's really good. And Havertz, honestly, I haven't watched too much, so I don't know. But his price tag would suggest that he's really good. But then again, you could say, well, Nicolas Pepe's price tag was 72, and he's not really doing that much, although he did score. And I thought he was really good in the last match against Southampton. But we'll see where that goes. Next topic, the 1 year anniversary of Kobe Bryant's death. And I actually did a little YouTube segment on this, on the anniversary. Basically what I said is sometimes when deaths happen, whether it's family members or celebrities that you follow, or like public figures that you follow, athletes, whatever it may be, movie stars, doesn't matter, singers, you kind of remember where you were when you found out that they passed away or that they died or whatever happened. And obviously, rest in peace to everyone who was on that helicopter. Tragic thing that happened. But, I remember getting a link in my WhatsApp group, and it had said Kobe Bryant passed away, or Kobe Bryant dies in a helicopter accident, something like that. And I remember it was TMZ. And I can't remember. I honestly can't remember if it was if it was an actual link, or if it was like a screenshot of the TMZ Twitter, or if it was a picture or what. Because honestly, once I saw Kobe Bryant passed away, I was like, "Holy cow!" I don't even. But I'm like, let me just check to see that this is the actual TMZ. Like, this isn't a parody account. And that was kind of posted, and then everything was quiet for like maybe 10-15 minutes, and then all the other media sources started releasing that Kobe Bryant had passed away. And the only thing I didn't like about it was how when news first breaks, and it feels like all these rumors start, like who was on the helicopter with him, and then there was rumors that it was just him, and then there was rumors that it was his entire family, and then there was just him and two of his kids and his wife, and just him. Like, let's just get the details first. I understand everyone wants to be the first to break the news, but like, get it right, because like, you saying that his entire family passed away when they didn't is awful. It's just awful. And like, I guess this is what media accounts and stuff are paid for, just to break the news and kind of squeeze first, ask questions last type of thing. But yeah, it was a sad day. And I remember going upstairs and telling my parents, and my dad's like, "What the heck?" And my dad, like, my dad hated Kobe. Like, when I was younger, and we used to watch ball because he was a Sacramento Kings fan, and all the time Lakers would beat Sacramento, and he used to get pissed, and the Robert Horry shot and stuff like that. And he was like shook. He's like, "Man." He's like, "How many kids? He had a lot of kids, didn't he?" I was like, "Yeah." And I couldn't remember. I'm like, "Yeah, he has like 3 or 4 daughters and like a wife and like all this stuff." And I remember I was like borderline shaking. And even my mom, even my mom's a huge sports fan too, and she used to watch a lot of basketball. To her, shout out to both of them. They don't listen to podcasts, but and she was like, "Wow, like it really hits home, man." Like, and the thing that I said is, we look at these celebrities and they retire, and we're like, "Man, we're gonna watch them for the next like." I'll use Kobe as an example. So Kobe was, I think, like 42 when he passed. So we're gonna see Kobe for another like 40 years. Front row Laker games, and like front row probably of WNBA games, because his daughter was really good, and she probably would have made WNBA as well. And like, he's gone just like that. And it's crazy. Like, we always think that celebrities are going to live these full lives because we always see them on TV, full of energy, full of life. They have their own causes, charities, stuff like that, organizations. And he's gone in the blink of an eye. And it's very sad. And I when it happened, I always thought back to the game that he was at, the Lakers game. And when he, I think it was shook hands with Luka Doncic, and later on with LeBron, and he had his daughter courtside and stuff like that. And man, it's just so sad. And he's like one of the guys that I grew up watching, putting up 81 on my Raptors. Like, I remember that game like it was yesterday. I didn't want to go to school the next day because I had so many friends who were Laker fans. I'm like, these guys are going to roast me the entire day. That's exactly what it was like. But man, like the Achilles and the titles and all this stuff, man. A true competitor. If I were a rookie in my first game and I had to play Kobe Bryant, and I was a starter, I'd be like, man, just put me on the bench. I'm not starting this game. Are you kidding me? This guy's going to eat me alive. You can sense your fear. And I think that's what kind of, that's the thing that separates the greats from the rest of the players. Like LeBron, Kobe, and like Jordan and all these KD and all these guys could probably sense the fear on rookies right away and they just attack. It's like sharks. And that 81 point, man, that was crazy. And it just puts everything in perspective. And like when Michael Jackson passed away, I also talked about this on my YouTube channel. I also remember I remember where I was. It was the NBA draft, and that was like 2009. And I remember Shaq had been traded, I think, to Cleveland or Phoenix or something like that. And I remember they had Shaq like phoned into the show because he was traded, and they wanted to get his thoughts on the trade and stuff like that. And he started talking about MJ and all this stuff, and then that's how I remember it as well. I'm always going to remember these two deaths for sure, and there's probably other celebrities. I just can't remember right now off the top of my head, but these are the two, because just like I said, Kobe I used to watch all the time, and Michael Jackson because of his music and stuff like that. So, and something that's kind of gone under the radar, like Vanessa Bryant, his the widow of Kobe Bryant, and God bless Paul Gasol because he's been there every step of the way. The last year, he's really filled in as a great godparent, and he's setting a great example of what it is to be a great human being. And he's there for her and the kids, and it's great on his behalf. And there's a lot of godparents who probably wouldn't do the same. But what I really liked was Vanessa kind of took the girls, at least from what I saw on Instagram, and they kind of went skiing, and I think Gasol was there as well. And I think I don't think it's a coincidence that they picked, this weekend to go do it, or they timed it to go when it was his anniversary. I think he just wanted to keep the girls, off social media as much as possible, although that's almost impossible now with phones and having access to everything. But I think that's one reason why she did it, to kind of keep the girls away from social media and stuff like that, and just to spend some quality time with the girls and Gasol and his wife and their newborn child. So it's like I said, Paul Gasol has done an outstanding job. Every time I see him, on Twitter, he's always hanging out with the girls, and he's really doing his job. And God bless him for doing that, because like I said, a lot of people wouldn't do something like that. And now to cap off the show, this week I had 4 things I was going to talk about. I want to talk about the Deshaun Watson trade request. So switching gears, like I said, back to the NFL, Deshaun Watson came out and said that he would like to be traded from the Houston Texans, and obviously a million suitor, like everyone, literally 25 teams could want him, but he has no trade clause, so at the end of the day he'll kind of decide where he wants to go. So obviously the best package they can get is from the New York Jets, and it's actually one of the places that he wants to play, because of Saleh taking over there, who's the defensive coordinator at San Francisco, and he has high respect for him, and that's one of the destinations that he's thinking about actually going to, or waiving his no trade clause to. And they have the most to give up. If you really look at it, they have the second overall pick, they have 23rd and 34th, plus they could get Sam Darnold. So that's probably the best trade package you could get. And if you can milk another first rounder next season, or like a second or third next season, not for second and third next year, but one of the three, depending on how that works with the salary cap. Again, I'm not an expert at salary cap, so I'm not going to act like I know what I'm talking about. But I mean, milk the Jets as much as you can. It's just that Jets just don't really have that many weapons, and if they do trade for him, like, they'll be out of their picks for this season, but they do have cap space from what I remember seeing. So they can go out and sign free agents. I don't know how. No, honestly, they could still trade for wide receivers as well. So they can do that. The Dolphins are another team. We don't know what's going to happen with Tua. Like, is he the real deal? They seem really iffy about it. So Dolphins are another destination where he could go. And he has, I believe, stated that he wouldn't mind going there as well. And then there's obviously like San Francisco's and Chicago's. And I know New Orleans was kind of thrown out as well because we don't know what's going to happen with Breeze. You might as well throw the Cowboys in there too then. But the one team that I thought would be very interesting would be the Los Angeles Rams. And I actually did another piece about this on my YouTube channel as well. With Goff Goff's made 2 Pro Bowls, I believe, and he's made the Super Bowl. But he's only put up 3 points in the Super Bowl, and obviously that's not all on him. Defense did their job, though. They held Tom Brady to 13? Like, if I told you that the Patriots put up 13 points in a Super Bowl, you'd probably say that they lost. No matter who they were playing, you'd probably say that they lost. But they didn't. They won. And Goff's been kind of shaky. Goff can throw for like 350 to 400 yards with 4 or 5 touchdowns, and the next week he come out and throw for, 70 yards with a 20% completion percentage and like 5 sacks and 4 interceptions. And he's just that type of guy. And I don't think he's necessarily the worst quarterback in the league. I mean, like, he got to a Super Bowl, so he can't be that bad. But when you could get Deshaun Watson, and if they can, again, they're like 3rd or 4th worst in salary cap. So I don't know how that would work. But if they can get it, I would make a move for him. Look, their defensive numbers are crazy. They ranked like top 5, 6 in every defensive category with the guys that they have over there. But offensively, it's a bit of a different story. Like, Cam Akers had a good season, and they have weapons everywhere. They have Cooper Kupp, they have Higbee, they have Robert Woods. Like, they have a lot of weapons on offense. It's just that, they didn't click this season. Goff was very up and down, so he has to take some of the blame being the quarterback, which is normal. And I think if they can add Deshaun Watson, they'd be a very scary team. It's safe to say whichever team he goes to will be like in the top 5 Super Bowl favorites. They have to be. And if he's going to a team like San Francisco, they could be second right behind the Chiefs. I'm assuming the Chiefs are going to be first next year, no matter if they win or lose. Because just the players and the team that they have around Mahomes. So I think that would make a lot of sense. And obviously, again, if they can make the money work somehow, you get another team involved. Obviously, Goff would probably be going the other way to Houston. And he's making like $34 million next season. And I think Deshaun Watson is still making 15, 16 next season. And I believe the season after that, 2022, I believe he's making like 30 or maybe even 40 million because he signed that extension. But yeah, he's made it clear yesterday that he wants to trade. Houston continues to say they're not going to trade him, so it's a bad situation to be in, because if they don't trade him, he could just sit out. And then now you don't have a quarterback. They don't have picks in the first round because of the Tunsil trade. So now they're stuck in a bad place. Watt is there as well, and I think his time might be running out with the team as well. But it would be crazy if they traded, for example, I'm going to kind of go off the tangent a little bit here. If they traded Watson and Watt, like, they could get a combined like 4 or 5 first rounders for the two of them, and probably another, let's say, 2 players and maybe 2 second and a third. Like, that's a lot to get back. And then you start to rebuild right away. But they got to be smart about it. They can't fool around. And this all started when they traded Hopkins, obviously, to Arizona. It kind of rubbed everyone the wrong way. But yeah, I think, like I said, any team that doesn't have a quarterback is going to be in the market for Deshaun Watson, and you'd be stupid not to. Like, literally every team. Tampa Bay, Chiefs. I don't know, depending on what Baltimore thinks of Lamar Jackson. Joe Burrow, I guess, in Cincinnati. It all depends. But man, if you could get a guy like that, you automatically go to like the top of the Super Bowl odds for next season. So yeah, that's it for today, or that's it for this week, if you want to call it that. So like I said, I'm going to try to do this once a week. The date I'll kind of work on, maybe even a Saturday I can do it on. The thing is, I just want to get as much info as possible before the end of the week. So I think Saturday or even Sunday, like I said, maybe I'll just rotate. Someday it'll do Saturday, someday it'll do Sunday. Because it's a fun little segment. You kind of get to reflect on what happened during the week. And some segments are going to be maybe 15 minutes. Some might be like this one, which is 36 minutes. Just depending on how much happens in the sports world and what I have to say and things like that. So thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe or follow me, depending on, I'm on like a million different websites now. I'm recently on Stitcher. I might try something with SoundCloud. So yeah, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what I should talk about. Also, I want to try to have some guests on the show as well, because it's sometimes difficult for one person to talk for 35-6 minutes. So I want to get different people on the show and kind of, if I do have you on the show, we're probably going to discuss before you come on what you want to talk about, so we can kind of at least a little bit prepared for what our talk is about. So thank you guys for listening. Have a great weekend, and hopefully you'll hear from me soon.